A disgraced heir returns, and every challenge becomes proof he cannot be contained.
Spoilers ahead for this Chinese manhua recap.
Changde Gu is not trying to become a beloved hero.
He is a cold, strategic young master in a cultivation world where luck, family history, reputation, and fear all have value. After earlier events leave his standing under pressure, he returns to the upper world stage surrounded by family judgment, political suspicion, and dangerous women who know more than they admit. The payoff here is watching him turn every supposed disadvantage into another public display of control.
Changde Gu returns before the Gu family while doubt still hangs over his name. Young cultivators question his arrogance, and the atmosphere quickly moves from whispers to confrontation on a cloud-ringed platform.
One challenger is blasted backward, shocking the crowd, and that only pushes more hostile disciples toward him. Red attacks cut across the arena, several cultivators rush in, and black-red impact effects swallow the stage, but Changde never looks shaken. A bright burst of energy reverses the pressure and leaves opponents injured across the tiled platform.
Once the spectacle ends, the elders discuss what his return means for the family's reputation.
Some still weigh his past disgrace, while another elder admits that his willingness to face it matters. Then a senior figure praises him, only to raise one more unresolved issue. With the family confrontation behind him, Changde stands on a high sect platform above the clouds, surrounded by cultivators who watch him carefully. At first, the exchange looks formal, almost calm, but purple-black energy begins to gather around him and transforms the meeting into a demonstration of threat. The aura coils like a formation, then erupts in a dark violet display that makes his power feel overwhelming rather than merely impressive. After that, the path leads indoors through mountain sect scenery and into a meeting with a red-haired, demon-like woman surrounded by fire and spiritual energy. She resists him, but Changde does not need to win through shouting. A glowing spell-like object and a contract-like talisman shift the mood from danger to negotiation, leaving her caught beside him under terms he seems ready to control. Changde arrives at a large upper realm sect or academy with companions, and the reception immediately shows how heavy his name has become. Elders, attendants, and young disciples gather with respect, yet their caution is just as visible as their manners. A red-dressed woman stays close to him while older figures measure the situation, and a purple-haired woman draws attention from the watching crowd. The public exchange feels political, not friendly, because everyone understands that welcoming Changde also means acknowledging his influence. Later, the tension narrows into a private conversation with Changde Su, the turquoise-robed woman from the lower realm. His reassurance sounds protective, but it carries possession too. He makes it clear that her life remains under his control. When she admits something strange is stirring inside her, Changde suspects a hidden second soul may be involved.
Changde next faces a green-robed woman in a misty outdoor setting, where the dark red and black energy around him makes even conversation feel dangerous.
The scene then shifts to a grand palace touched by purple light, with a suspended formation or artifact suggesting that deeper forces are already active. Inside the formal hall, a crowned young woman appears among elders and attendants. She seems to be Mìng, and her composed posture cannot fully hide the suspicion in her eyes. When she later walks with Changde through the palace grounds, their exchange becomes a quiet duel of reactions. He teases, watches, and tests her responses, while she tries to keep her hidden knowledge buried. By the end, purple system-like panels appear around him, implying that her secrets may already be turning into information he can use. The pressure follows them into a night banquet, where rich food, palace lights, and polite seating cannot soften the unease around Changde and Mìng. Guests watch closely as the white-robed nobleman and the gold-adorned woman speak with careful restraint. On the surface, nothing erupts, but her guarded expressions reveal that she does not trust the role he still expects her to play. She appears to fear that he sees her as someone bound to him, and possibly as someone he may hurt again. When she leaves the banquet, Changde follows outside and blocks her path with infuriating calm. Her anger finally breaks into an attack, but he stops it easily. Instead of crushing her, he closes the distance and forces the real question: what does she actually want from him now? After the tense private night gives way to morning, Changde prepares to leave the palace with a woman nearby, carrying the same unreadable calm as before. Travel through the sky brings him and several companions toward a busy city, where status and beauty immediately attract trouble. An arrogant blonde young master steps in with attendants, expecting his local authority to intimidate the group.
But his confidence is built for weaker targets.
The dispute turns public, and sweeping water like dragon energy crashes into the street as bystanders realize the confrontation has become a real cultivation clash.
Xian'er barely treats it as a crisis.
He overturns the attack with ease, and the blonde young master's attempt to dominate him becomes public humiliation.
By the end, the rival is struck away while his followers panic.
The courtyard tension continues with Xian'er standing among several women, attendants, and watching disciples. The blonde young man's fury burns hotter after being embarrassed, and his hostility turns into another attack.
Bright beams and a dragon-like force tear into the scene, though the exact nature of the creature is unclear. It could be a summon, manifestation, or technique.
Either way, the crowd recognizes the danger, and the women around Xian'er respond with worry and confusion. Once again, he remains the only person who seems fully in control. He overpowers the threat while witnesses stare in shock, then shifts into a larger conversation involving a city, an ominous monster-like presence, and a formation-like space. Later, he meditates with glowing orbs around him, suggesting he is refining or manipulating hidden power before another guarded discussion begins. Xian'er withdraws into a secluded hall, and the story finally lingers on the private work behind his public dominance. He studies a glowing purple scripture-like projection, eyes narrowed, then cuts or burns his finger as if blood or pain is part of the cultivation method. The energy around him swells into a violent black-purple aura, turning the chamber into a demonic-looking ritual space. Technique panels and destructive spiritual effects suggest that he is refining a sinister power rather than simply meditating. After this, the focus shifts to a dark residence or cell-like room where a pink-haired, fox-like woman speaks with him, adding another uncertain piece to his network. Far away, a young girl talks with an elderly white-haired man about heritage, revenge, and proving herself, ending near a golden pagoda-like structure that promises another trial. Soon the scale expands into an open martial setting where elders, young cultivators, injured figures, and suspicious observers gather under immense spiritual pressure. A huge golden dragon-like manifestation appears in the sky, drawing every eye upward, while authority figures and rival groups argue over the unfolding situation. Blue-haired and pink-haired female observers react seriously, and the battlefield begins to fracture under bright streaks, dust, and coiling force.
Golden, purple, and fiery energies tear through the scene, yet Xian'er's expression remains disturbingly calm.
His glowing purple eyes and faint smile make him feel less like a participant and more like someone evaluating the entire conflict.
The result is not fully clear, but the emotional balance is.
Everyone else reacts to danger, while Xian'er reads it, measures it, and lets the fear around him grow.
The public pressure sharpens again when Xian'er defeats a large beast-like opponent in an arena-like space, leaving the creature broken while spectators stare. Then attention shifts to Xian'er, the young woman in white-blue robes whose anger toward him is impossible to miss. Under heavy storm clouds, she faces a glowing stair-like path lined with cultivators, and Xian'er's relaxed teasing pushes her into motion. Golden energy coils around her legs as she advances, making every step feel painful and deliberate. The crowd reacts when she keeps moving, counting through the strain and refusing to stop even as the pressure increases. A burst of white light marks her stubborn breakthrough, but Xian'er only smiles. When she vows to crush him, he answers like a patient older brother waiting for the fight he has already provoked. This stretch works because Xian'er treats every setting as a stage. The Gu family platform restores status. The Sect reception expands influence.
The palace meetings turn suspicion into leverage.
The city confrontation turns arrogance into an example.
Even private cultivation scenes explain why his confidence feels so unnerving. His public calm is backed by darker methods and constant calculation. The most interesting thread is how many women around him know, fear, or suspect pieces of the truth, yet still get pulled into his orbit. Su becomes a mystery, Mìng becomes a political and emotional puzzle, and Xian'er becomes the open flame of revenge.
By the end, the manhua leaves us with a dangerous question: is Xian'er resisting Changa's control, or walking exactly where he wants her to go?
Subscribe for the next recap, because Xian'er Gu's trial may finally reveal how far Changa's trap reaches.